Hello, folks. Wager Detective here, coming to you November 23rd, 2025, here from Atlantic City. It's 9:31 in the morning, and what we're going to do is cap this Steelers versus Bears game. What a intriguing matchup. So let's get right into it. The Steelers, they are 3-2. The Bears are 3-2 in their last five versus the Steelers. The average plus minus differential through those games is plus 2.4 points per game for the Bears, and the average score is 44 points per game. If we look at what the Steelers have done, their last five in Chicago, they are 1-4. They're minus 6.6 points per game average between their plus minus differential over that span, and the average score is 40.2 points per game. Now, keep this in mind. Three of the last five games that have been played in Chicago, between Chicago and Pittsburgh in Chicago, three of those games have gone to overtime. So 3 out of the last 5 games in Chicago between these teams have gone to overtime. So keep that in mind. All right, the Steelers, the road non-division games, their last 13, they're 8-5. They're minus 0.62 points per game over that span, and the average score is 43.2. They're 5-4. The Steelers are their last 9 road non-division games. Okay, average score is 44.1, and the Steelers are 4-3 in their last 7 road non-division games, minus 2.43 points per game average. Average score is 46.7, and in their last 5 road non-division game for the Steelers, they're minus 7.4 points per game average. The average score is 45.4. If we look at the Steelers, this is where it gets interesting, folks. So turn your headphones up and pay attention. The Steelers are 11-2 in their last 13 non-division home games. They're plus 9.54 points per game average between their plus and minus differential over that span, and the average score is 37.5. The Bears are 7-2 in their last 9 home game non-division games. Their average plus minus is plus 8 points per game average, and the average score is 35.4. So that's a little breakdown right there that's leading me towards the Bears to cover this game. If we look at the Steelers and what they've done this year, they're led by Mike Tomlin. We know Tomlin's a good coach, but again, not playing the toughest schedule. And if we look at what they've done here, they are coming off the home win last week against Cincinnati where they crushed them. They do have 10 turnovers in the year, not bad, but 7 interceptions. So no interceptions last week, and in the last 4 games, we got to give it up to Rodgers. He's only thrown 2 interceptions over the last 4 games. He's going 6 games without throwing an interception this year. But when he does, it's usually about 2. He don't just throw 1; he throws a couple when he does what he does, and he hasn't thrown 1 last week, so you don't know if he's going to get back to it. But if you look at the Steelers over their last 4 weeks, they have turned the ball over 5 times. They didn't turn it over at all last week against the Bengals. And then defensively, they do get turnovers. I mean, they've created 18 turnovers, so they're plus 8 in the turnover department as a team. They get turnovers by interception and fumbles equally, 9-9 there. So they can get turnovers. But if you look at who they played, man, I mean, where are they getting the turnovers from? They had 5 in one game against New England. And then they had 6 in one game against the Colts. So 11 of their 18 turnovers have come in 2 games. Against the Colts and against New England. So let's keep that in mind. Okay? They've got more than half of their turnovers in 2 games. So let's take a look at what they've done. Again, not played the toughest schedule. They are 2-0, 2-1, 2-2 on the road this year. They beat the Jets and they beat New England. I don't know if that would work now, the way New England's playing. And but you look at the teams they lost to. They lost to Cincinnati on the road, and they lost to the Chargers, which isn't bad, but you lost by 15 there. Okay, let's take a look at their stats and see what they're doing this year offensively. They're 28th in the league in yards, and they're 28th in giving up yards. That's a red flag. Get out the red flag for that one. That's not good. They don't get a lot of yards, and they don't stop teams from getting yards on them. They are strong in creating turnovers. They're second in the NFL. So if you turn the ball over against the Steelers, you could lose. But I mean, they're 6-4 with all those turnovers. They're still 6-4 in those games through all their games. If we look at them, what do they do well? Anything that stands out? They're fourth in passing touchdowns with 20. And they sit around middle of the pack defensively, giving up 16 passing touchdowns. That puts them at 15th in the NFL. If we look at what they do, they're fourth in the NFL in turnover percentage on defense, which is good. But look at these metrics here. Average drive. They're 30th in time per drive. They're 31st in plays per drive. They're 27th in yards per drive, and they bring it back in with 15, sitting at 15th with points per drive. Defensively, they're bad defensively. Time per drive, they're 26th on defense. Plays per drive, they're 31st on defense. And yards per drive, they're 28th on defense. And this Bears team, man, they can move. They can move the ball. Third down conversions, the Packers sit at 20th in the NFL, converting 38% of the time. But their opponents are converting at 42% of the time, which puts their defense at 24th. And if we look at the red zone, they are 8th in the NFL in red zone efficiency, getting in 19 out of 30 times for 63%. But on the other side, teams have scored 18 out of 35 attempts for 6th best in the NFL. So not bad there. So they're good offensively in the red zone, and they're good defensively and not letting teams inside the red zone. Who's getting it done? Rodgers, pretty good year, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's been sacked 19 times, so they're not necessarily keeping him upright over 10 games. They're almost 2 sacks a game at 1.9 over those 10 games. Rodgers does have a fourth quarter comeback and 2 game-winning drives, so that tells you that they're playing from behind in a few of those games, right? So keep an eye on that. 30% of their play games, Rodgers has had to lead them back, or they were down. Okay, on the ground, who's leading? They only got 5 rushing touchdowns, guys. That makes you one-dimensional, and that's not good against this Bears team, as we'll get into it. They are number 1 in the NFL in creating turnovers, and I think it's coming primarily by the interception. So I know Rodgers has a pretty good understanding of this Bears team playing with the Packers all these years, but I think this is a different Bears team. I think we got to start getting used to that. All right, through the air, receiving, DK Metcalf. That's why they brought him over from Seattle. He's got 5. Freiermuth's got 3 touchdowns. Kenneth Gainwell's got 2. Calvin Alston III's got 2. Yeah, I always like to take a peek and see where some of these guys went to college. I like playing that game with my friends. Let's play a game. Where did this guy go to college? And I got buddies, man. We go back and forth, and dude, we're like 90% when we talk about this. Where did this guy go? Where did this guy go? You think that somebody's going to stump you, and you surprise them, and they surprise you, and that keeps you and your fellow cappers sharp. Calvin Alston III went to Memphis. Okay, 4th round selection. I always like to take a peek in here and there. So he's got 2 touchdowns. So they do have 20 in the air. Okay, kicks and returns and see who's doing what. If anything stands out, you want to find the edge. Where's the edge at? Kick returns. Keyshawn Williams got 12 returns, 291 yards. And then Kenneth Gainwell's got 16 for 416. It looks like Gainwell's the better returner there. And you'll probably be seeing him. Punt returns, Calvin Alston and Keyshawn Williams on the punt returns there. Nothing really stands out. All right, Chris Boswell. I like Chris. Chris is a good field goal kicker. 19 to 22 this year. 7 for 8 from 50 plus. 8 from 9 from 40 to 49. Pretty good. 86%. He's good on all his extra points. Kickoffs, he's got 56, and 5.4 of those are going for a touchback. Okay. Their punter, Corliss Waitman. He's got 35 punts on the year for 47 yards per punt, and he's getting 40% of his punts are landing inside the 20. So pretty decent punter there for the Steelers. All right. So if we look at defensively, what do? They got 9 interceptions. pretty solid. 64 passes deflected, 12 forced fumbles, 13 fumble recoveries, and they got a fumble recovery touchdown, so they could be dangerous. And they got 33 sacks on the year, 56 tackles for loss, and 82 quarterback hits. So they do get pressure on the quarterback. That is the reason why they're getting these turnovers the way they are. They get pressure on the quarterback. So we look at them. They're pretty good. They're good inside the red zone. They're good defensively and offensively in the red zone. But on the ground, they're limited. They only got 5 rushing touchdowns. So if it gets to 3rd and long and this, that, the other, as we're going to get into now, you got to keep an eye on that, because Rodgers can throw the interception. Even though he's got 7 on the year, that number can climb real fast. As we've seen, he's got a couple games where he's got 2, but they feasted off the turnovers. They're +8 for the Steelers there. But I don't think they're going to have the edge. Let's take a look at the Bears. The Bears are coached by Ben Johnson. Good coach, first year. Went to North Carolina. Okay. One of the youngest coaches in the NFL and having a good year so far this year as the Bears sit 7-3. Not the best SRS or SOS, but, they're getting the job done with what they have to do, and that's to be kept in mind. Offensive coordinator Declan Doyle, not necessarily a lot of experience there, but on the defensive side, they do have some experience with Dennis Allen. We know he's been around. He went to Texas A&M, okay, and he was a head coach for the Saints and Oakland, and he's got this defense playing really, really good. Let's look at what the Bears do offensively. They're 4th in the NFL in yards, so they get yards. We know that the Packers are 28th on yards. So they move the ball. The Bears move the ball better than the Packers, yards-wise. But they're right there with the Packers on defense and giving up yards. The Packers were 28th, and these guys are 27th. Now look at that, turnovers. They're 2nd in the NFL in turning the ball over, right? They've only turned the ball over 6 times, so that's not going to fare well for the Packers and their strong turnovers. But if you look at defensively, they've created 22 turnovers, so they're +4 against the Steelers in the turnover category. The Steelers got 18, but the Bears got 22, and that puts them at 1st in the NFL. Let's keep that in mind. Passing the ball, they're 21st in touchdowns with 14, and they're 29th in the NFL in giving up passing touchdowns with they've given up 21. On the ground, they're 6th in the NFL in scoring rushing touchdowns. They got 12. So they're +7 in the rushing touchdown department. We know the Steelers got 5, and we know now that the Bears have 12. And they give up 9. They've given up 9 rushing touchdowns all year. So they've given up 1 more rushing touchdown than the Steelers have had all year long. So that puts them right squarely in like the middle of the pack. Again, they do not turn the ball over all that much. And let's see what they do plays per drive or in their average drive. They're 18th in time for drive on offense. They're 14th in plays per drive. They're 11th in yards per drive, and they're 12th in points per drive. They're all better metrics than Green Bay, as we just said. And then you look at defensively, they're way better than the Steelers are. They're number 1 in time per drive in the NFL. They're 4th in plays per drive with on defense, only giving up 5.5. Okay, and they're 22nd in yards per drive, giving up. So that's their deficiency. They don't. It seems like they're giving up chunk plays when they do, right? Because teams are only holding the ball for 2 minutes 32 seconds. That puts them at 1st on defense, and they're only getting 5.5 plays per yard. But the yards, they puts them at 22nd. So that tells me that if Green Bay's going to move the ball, it's going to come in chunk plays. It's not going to come on, running the ball. Obviously, it's not going to be there. It's going to be, can they move the ball through the air? Okay, so they're good. They're better than their opponents in average drive between time, plays, yards, and points. See who they've played. They are coming off the loss, so that right there tells me, or no, they're coming off the road win. They're coming off the road win. So both these teams are coming off the road. Difference is the Bears are coming home here, and we look at their wins and losses. I mean, they are 5-1 in their last 6. I mean, you look at they started off the year, that was where it was, against the Lions and against the Vikings. Their division has gotten the better of them this year. That's where the deficiency lies for this team. And again, like we said, they've only turned the ball over 6 times all year. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, really, only 4 interceptions. That's a kudos to Caleb Williams, who I didn't think was going to be as good anywhere near than what he's playing. I'm wrong on that. I usually get these right, but the system fits him, and he's playing fantastic, and he's a winner. He wants to win. He has, I don't want to go too far overboard, but he playing in Chicago. He has that desire, that Kobe mentality, and that drive to win. He brings that Michael Jordan-esque early on in his career. So he's definitely proved Wager Detective wrong again. And he's only been sacked 16 times. So they're keeping him primarily up. He was sacked twice last week, but there have been a couple games on there where he hasn't been sacked at all. But they still win. Even when he does get under pressure, they do find he was sacked 3 times in this game. I want to see. And they still won. They won 25-24 against Washington. He was sacked a lot of times, and they really didn't rush the ball. They rushed the ball pretty good, 145 yards in that game. And then they were 17-29, not the best game, 236 yards. So they overcame the sacks in that game to win that one. And playing pretty well. Their last loss was at Baltimore. They got beat by 14 there. I think that's when Lamar had come back, his first game back. So in their last 3 weeks, I'm not really going to say they've played the toughest schedule, right? You played Cincinnati, you played the Giants, you played Minnesota. And then even their other wins, New Orleans, Washington, the Raiders, you beat Dallas, you went to Detroit, you won there. I mean, it's really, you're not playing the toughest competition. They're definitely going to see competition here with the Steelers coming to town. And Rodgers, again, knows this team. But again, we've seen like we said in the beginning of this video, the Bears are 11-2 in their last 13 home non-division games. So the teams that give them problems are their teams in their own division. Now, if we look at the Bears, they're 11th in the NFL in third down conversion, converting 41%. They're second on defense in third down in letting teams convert the third down. We do factor in the fact of their competition and who they're playing, but that's still. Once you start building into that repetition of this, it's all comparable. It's all relative in many ways. These guys are all in the NFL, and it is what it is. I mean, like, you could but when you're second, you're doing what you got to do against the competition you're playing. Now, is the competition going to be a lot more stiffer here? Yeah, but again, Pittsburgh, they can't move the ball on the ground, and we know the Bears can stop the ground. And I guess the only major difference here is one team has played tougher competition. If we look at red zone, as much as they move the ball in third down conversions, the Bears are 20th in the NFL in converting. They convert 54.3% of the time. 19 of their 35 trips in the red zone have touched paint. And then if we look at defensively, they're 13th in the NFL. They've let teams in the red zone 36 times. So teams are getting in the red zone about 3.6 times a game over 10 games, right? And they've only given them 21 touchdowns for 13th best in the NFL. So let's get into Caleb Williams. 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He does have 5 fourth quarter comebacks at 5 game-winning drives, as we said, Michael Jordan-esque. He finds ways to win, and but that should be kept in mind, right? Rodgers has a couple too. Both these guys can play from behind. The spread is 2.5. But if we look at the Steelers and what they do on the road, non-division last 13, just a little shaky there. Let's see who's getting it done on the ground. Rushing the ball, DeAndre Swift's got 4, Kyle Monagy's got 3, and Caleb Williams has gotten in for 3 as well. And then if we look at receiving, Rome Odunze, the Washington product, he leads the team with 6. A bunch of guys with 1. So they got 14 on the ground there. Kicking and punt returns. Anybody stand out here? Okay, Luther Burden. Okay, he's got 8 returns for 223, but it looks like Devin Duvernay is going to be the guy there. 28 returns for 733 yards, about 26.2 on the kickoff returns, and then punt returns, Duvernay as well. He's got 15 returns for 153 yards for about 10.2 a return there. Nothing really glaring there. Cairo Santos, I don't know if he's back this week. He has been out, but he's 16 for 20. So right there, the Pittsburgh does have the advantage with the field goal kicker. 21 to 21 extra points made. Solid there, but I'm going to take a look at this injury report because I know last week that was a glaring concern for them. Week 12 injury report. It doesn't have Santos on it. So I guess Santos is going to be back, which is a good thing. But look at these guys that are out. Trayman Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Kyler Gordon, Travis Homer, Jalen Johnson, Rashawn Johnson, Noah Sewell. I want to take a look. I know Trayman Edmonds is a kind of a loss here, right? Not having this guy in there. I mean, on the year, he's got a number of games with passes deflected. And what about tackles? I mean, he definitely, I mean, you're missing a guy that's giving you a bunch of tackles over the year and a couple quarterback hits, and not having him in there is kind of a loss. I mean, this guy is Virginia Tech, first round pick, 16th overall, so not having him in there could open up them passing lanes over the middle for what he likes to do, what he excels at for Rodgers. TJ Edwards, another guy out. Okay, Wisconsin product. Looks like he came right from high school, so he's Kyler Gordon. He's only played in 2 games this year, so you're not really missing a guy there. A guy that's played in 5 games this year, TJ Edwards, and then Trayman Edmonds played in all 10 games this year. He's got 4 interceptions that you're pulling out of that lineup. So that does hurt your overall total. That brings it back to even on the defensive side of things, because they were +4 on defense between turnovers, and now you take this guy out, so that evens it up a little bit. That tightens that spread and that total a little bit more. Wow, that's something that they're definitely banged up, and they got guys that are a little hobbled. But if we're looking at this game right here, I mean, I was leaning the Bears, but now that you got this guy out, I mean, it is kind of glaring. And listen, you haven't turned the ball over in the last 3 weeks. Pittsburgh is very opportunistic. It's tough. I mean, it really, really is. I mean, we know that Pittsburgh needs this game a little bit more, but so do the Bears, man. Both these teams do. I mean, if I was to look at this game, I do think the total is a little high with the fact that these defenses they play stout. The Bears can run the ball on the ground more, and they are at home. And the history, 4-1 last 5 at home versus the Steelers, and 3-2 last 5 versus the Steelers overall. And then just their home road splits versus non-division opponents leads to the Steelers. Bears are playing a little bit better. Rodgers doesn't have a run game, so if you get him in the 3rd and long, you're talking about a team that can just create turnovers. But again, like we said, Pittsburgh has played the tougher opponents. Okay, but not by much. Not by much. But if you look the last 3 weeks, they have played the tougher competition. I mean, they played Indianapolis, the Chargers, and Cincinnati. And now you're going to Chicago. And Tomlin hasn't fared well against them. You got to think at some point that's going to regress back I mean, you look at their losses: Cincinnati, Green Bay, the Chargers, and Seattle. Those are all tough competitions compared to what the Bears have beaten. If I'm going to make this call, and I know it's just super tough, but Edmonds being out balances everything out, and I think Pittsburgh finds a way to keep this game close, possibly win the game outright. I was so heavy on the Bears leading into this game, but the more I think about it, the more I look at it, I still think the Bears are young, and for them to be 7 and to be this video is getting out of hand now. 25 minutes. Wow. If we're gonna look at this, and we're gonna, I don't want to hem and haw here, but I think for Pittsburgh, this game means a lot more. And I just believe that now. The more I think about it, we've seen that Caleb Williams has 5 game-winning comebacks, 5 game-winning touchdowns. I don't necessarily know if that happens here. I mean, how many times are you going to come back and win? Eventually, it's going to regress back. If I'm looking at this game, and I think the Bears have had a nice little run, but they've played way weaker competition. They shouldn't have beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati. They beat the Giants by 4, and you beat Minnesota by 2 because they turned the ball over quite a bit. If I'm going to look at this game, I'm going to make a decision here. I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers plus the 2.5. And I think if it is that, the 46.5 looks a little bit high. I'm going to call the under here. I'm going to say the Steelers plus 2.5 and under 46.5. This is Wager Detective here. I know this video was a little bit long, but I had to feel it out, get a good cap for the game, and that's where we're going to go with the Steelers plus 2.5 today in Chicago, and I will call the under 46.5. I think it's a tad bit high for that game, and that's going to be the call. It's November 23rd. 2025, 9:58 in the morning, and that's the official call here for Wager Detective on this Week 12 NFL game. He's going to call the Pittsburgh Steelers plus 2.5 and under 46.5. I'll talk to you soon.